So now we're on the last verse of the verses that relate to fasting, and we have been talking about the ruling relating to what's impermissible what's permissible and what's impermissible when fasting. And as we said, the verse starts with أحل لكم ليلة الصيام الرفث إلى نسائكم هن لباس لكم وأنتم لباس لهن. So it started with sexual relations and how it was permissible, and that the Sahaba either thought that it was impermissible but um, still carried out the act, or it was impermissible and they struggled with it. So Allah gave them a dispensation. And so that's where we've got to. Now Allah says, فَالْآنَ بَاشِرُهُنَّ وَابْتَغُوا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. So fa is most likely here of reason here. So because of that, because Allah knew that you were cheating yourselves and deceiving yourselves, and He has forgiven you, and that you were struggling with this. He's forgiven you, and He's erased and removed any sort of sin or consequence that could come about with that. And so because He's done that, He's given you a clean slate. فَالْآنَ now بَاشِرُوهُنَّ. So ana can mean close past, present, or near future. And we use it like that in English as well. Now you've really done it. That's the past, really. Now you're eating your food. That's the present. Now things are going to change. That's near future. Okay. So here, obviously, it means near future. It doesn't mean right here, right now. فالآن, it's an adverb of time, ana, which means now. The actual word is an. It's got al before it, so it becomes al-ana. So فالآن, so now باشروهن. This the root is ba shin ra, and it's on the fifth form, I call it, I think, but in the traditional structure it's third form. Bashara yubashiru. So bashara, bashiru, and the masdar is which mubashara. Now bashara, the literal meaning of bashara is to stretch out. It has the meanings of stretching out on the surface of something. Okay, and it can refer to skin. It also means to bring about a smile, because when you smile, you stretch your skin. Okay, it also refers to human beings. Some of the scholars have said that the reason is because human beings don't have hair on their skin is clear of hair, obviously not in all areas, but unlike animals, generally they are free of their skin, their bodies being covered predominantly by hair. But this form fa'ala is a reciprocal action, two people doing something together. Okay, so here it means for them to stick their skins together, and this is again an innuendo to alluding to sexual relations. So notice before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word rafath, that implied something that was actually unpleasant, because they assumed they were doing something that was wrong. And so Allah alluded to sexual relations with that word. Now He's using a word that's actually quite positive in context, i.e. skin to skin. And we know that skin to skin is actually something that many people feel, they feel connection through being skin to skin. And so it implies this sense of connection, the nuance of being warm and keeping one another cozy. It has all these connotations which are positive, obviously. So Allah says, فَالْآنَ, so now, بَاشِرُوهُنَّ, so connect with them, skin to skin, literally, that's what they're saying. Which implies, obviously, embracing, but it also implies the sexual relations here. And this goes back to how Allah had said, هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنَّ. Okay, they are clothing for you. You are clothing for they are clothing for you, and you are clothing for them. So it links to that idea again. So Allah says, embrace them, and this is a command of permissibility. And so now does not mean literally now. That's obvious. At any time, but from this time it's permissible. And that it's something permissible for you to do. It's not a command whereby it's obligatory to do. And then Allah says, وَابْتَغُوا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Ibtigha comes from the root ba, ghain, ya. It's a weak verb, and it's on the 8th form, ifta'ala. Yafta'ilu. And this root means to desire something strongly, and to want to gain something in order to complete one's state. Words that come from this root are to do with obtaining is a goal, an objective. And so when you have a goal and objective, you desire it strongly, and you feel that you are not complete unless you obtain that goal. These are the nuances of this word. It's in this form ifta'ala, which is an intensification of the form. Also, it implies that one is open to that as well. So wabtaghu is something they desired in their hearts, and they were open to it, and now they've had the permission. So notice these two verbs here are actually in the command. Bashiruhunna. So it's directing it second person. So you directly embrace them, skin to skin. Wabtaghu. So this is the command, and it's a weak verb here. It's weak. It's a final weak letter verb. Ibtigha, yabtaghi. And then we lose the prefix because it's a command, so it becomes ibtaghi. But then we add the wow because it's plural, so ibtaghu it becomes. So wabtaghu, seek out, ma, that which, and ma makes it very general. Kataballahu lakum. So kataba, that's 3 consecutive vowels, so it's the past. Allah is the subject here. So Allah has prescribed for you. So notice now how in the beginning of these verses relating to fasting, Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe, kutiba alaykum. Alaykum as-siyam. Fasting has been prescribed over you. So Allah uses the passive, and Allah uses ala, the preposition ala, on. The passive implies, to some degree, a focus on action rather than the one that's given it to you, and that this thing is going to be difficult. There's implications of difficulty there in terms of the passive, that you're so engrossed in the act that's going to be ordained for you. And also there's the ala implies difficulty as well, so if it's a burden coming down upon you. But here we have it in the active. Ma kataballahu lakum, what Allah has written for you, and he doesn't use ala, he uses alam, and this implies ease, for you as a gift. Okay, what Allah has ordained for you. Now, the scholars differ what this applies to. So, and seek out what Allah has written for you. Okay, so the implication here is there was an urge for this, and you've got a strong desire for it, and you're open to it. Okay, and it's been ordained by Allah. What is that? Some scholars have said that it's connected to the previous sentence here, فَالْآنَ بَاشِرُوهُنَّ. And what is it you seek out what Allah has written for you? Either children. So what it implies here is that when one has sexual relations, one should have the desire not just to fulfill one's need, but also to seek out what Allah has ordained for you in the preserved tablet of children. Okay, so this tells us that when we seek out having children, we recognize that this cannot happen except Allah has ordained it in the preserved tablet. And so whatever comes to pass will pass, and whatever doesn't, it wasn't written to be. Okay, so it's an attitude when you come to have sexual relations with your spouse, is that you have this openness. If Allah provides, He provides. If He doesn't, He doesn't. Or it could mean what Allah has ordained for you and made permissible for you. Okay, so not referring to destiny, but to say this is something permissible. The sexual relations within the confines of marriage is permissible for you. So that's another possibility. So some say it refers to sex, and either to seeking out children, or seeking to protect and guard one's chastity through marriage within the confines of marriage, sexual relations within the confines of marriage. Others say it actually refers to Laylatul Qadr. Okay, so it seems a bit strange to be honest, the context. So, but this does teach us that one of the things that we're trying to, one of the purposes of Ramadan is to seek out Laylatul Qadr, this night where everything's decreed for the coming year. Some have said it refers to exemptions. So the ease that Allah has given you. So seek out what Allah has made easy for you. Don't make your life difficult. There must be some sort of responsibility and some sort of hardship that's related to the law, because anything that's worth doing requires this element of struggle, just like exercise, just like studies. Any sphere of our life, there's got to be an element of struggle. Okay, but at the same time, to enjoy Allah's pleasures. Okay, others have said that's what it refers to here. So ma kataballahu lakum, of ease, because the ease is implied in the lakum instead of alaykum. So what Allah is saying here is that fasting, Ramadan is a month of fasting, which is a month of struggle, but it's also a month in which you appreciate Allah's blessings. So when we break the fast, we enjoy Allah's pleasures. Okay, we can eat, we can drink, we can have sexual relations, and we appreciate them more. If we're always engrossed in them, we don't realize the blessing that they are for us. And that's one of the blessings in that that a woman, it's impermissible for a man to approach his wife when she is on her period, because it gives them that space and time in order to really enjoy the blessings, these blessings, and appreciate them. Because if we have them all the time, we take them for granted. So then Allah says, and notice it mentions Allah here to understand who it is has given us this blessing. Okay, so it's not in the passive; it's in the active, to stress that we focus on Allah when we engage in these blessings, and we do those things for His sake and His pleasure. Then Allah says, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا. So these are both. This part of this verse is really useful for revising the command. So we've got kulu. The root is akala, yakulu, and verbs that start with hamza, we actually lose the hamza in the command, and it becomes, we just simply say kul. Okay, and this is the plural. So and eat, washrabu from shariba yashrabu, and so this is a command as well. And drink, and they're both in the plural because of the waw at the end. And so eat and drink, and this shows us the importance of food for suhoor, that eating food that is going to sustain us throughout the day. So we're noting eatings put before drinking. And they actually say that medically. They say it's not recommended to drink before eating, because you need your it sort of prevents saliva in your mouth, and you need saliva to digest the food. And so what's recommended, that if you are going to drink around food, you can take sips, and as I said, it's not an issue of being halal or haram, but it's recommended that you drink about 15 minutes or so after eating. And it's not recommended to drink too much when you're actually eating. It affects the digestion. So washrabu, so eat and drink, hatta yatabayyana, until حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض من الخيط الأسود من الفجر. So these are both form 1 verbs. حتى means until, and يتبين, حتى puts the verb after into a state of nasb, and the sign of nasb here is a fatha, and the verb here, the root is ba, ya, noon, and it means to be clear, to be separate. Okay, Baina means to be between something, because when you separate things, they become clear. If you have a whole hodgepodge of things, you can't make things out, but when you separate them into categories, they become clear. And this form is tafa'ala, which is form 4, I think I called it in my form. It's the class, traditionally we call it form 5. Yatafa'alu. And it means to be intense. This form implies intensification, so it means really clear. So eat and drink hatta yatabayyana, until it becomes really clear, up until the point that the khaytul abyad, the white thread, khayt means a thread, it means something that's long and stretched out like a thread. Hatta yatabayyana lakum, until it becomes clear for you. What becomes clear for you? The white thread. Abyad means to be white, the clear thread. So damma, this tells me it's a subject. Abyad's an adjective for khayt. Lakum's been brought forward because you'd assume that the subject comes directly after the verb, but lakum's been brought forward to mean specifically for you, and that implies that, especially in the old days, is that it becomes clear for you specifically. I.e., you know in your heart, you have this surety that it is definitely appeared, this white thread. Okay. Al-khayt al-abyadu min al-khayt al-aswadi. So it's clear, the white thread is clear for you specifically. What? So judge it in yourselves that this white thread is clear from the black thread. Al-khayti, the min puts into a state of jar, it takes a kasra, and min means up until, the khaytul aswad. And so the white is clearly separated from the black. And then min clarifies what's Allah talking about, from fajr, from the dawn. And fajr, the word fajr from fajim ra, means to be split. So there's a split and there's a clear demarcation, there's a clear separation between these two things, the white thread and the black thread. So what this is talking about here is that when we look at the horizon at night, you see just blackness. And then there's some sort of light, okay, but it's admixed and not clear. And then we get some clear light, this white line. It's very difficult to see in the northern hemisphere, but closer to the horizon, to the equator, it's easier. So it becomes a complete separation between that light and you see this white light spread across. And so Allah's describing Fajr. Some of the scholars mentioned, but it seems weak to really, to be honest, is that this min al-Fajr was actually emitted. It didn't come down initially, and the Sahaba, some of them, they had a white thread around their leg or underneath their pillow, and they would keep this black and white thread, and they would keep eating and drinking until it became clear. You could distinguish between the white thread from the black thread. And then when they came to the Prophet ﷺ clarifying what they were doing, then this part of the verse was revealed. But it seems questionable that it is true, definitely, that the Sahaba were doing that. Okay, some of the Sahaba, such as Adi ibn Hatim, but the Prophet ﷺ clarified that what this means is that when you look at the horizon, there's a clear distinction between the two lights. So when you see this light across, then you know that Fajr is in. And so until you're sure of that, then you can eat and drink. But then the Prophet ﷺ clarified that there are two people that are watching out for this. So listen for their adhans. And so Bilal and Abdullah ibn Maktoum, the famous blind man, they would Bilal would call out for the first part, if my memory serves me correct, and then Abdullah ibn Maktoum would call for the second, and Bilal would guide him in that. And so the Prophet ﷺ said, don't stop eating and drinking on hearing the first adhan. That's adhan's just being called to prepare you, to get people up for the pre-dawn meal, suhoor, and they can keep eating until they hear the second adhan. Okay, and so the Sahaba would keep eating and drinking until they heard that. And I remember in Morocco they do this, and I was just panicking. I used to wake up and hear that adhan and think I'd missed out on suhoor, not realizing that it was the first adhan. So it used to really confuse me when I was in Morocco. And so this is clarified. The min is called bayaniya. It's clarifying what the black thread and the white thread is actually referring to. And notice how Allah says, you'll assume حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض من الخيط الأسود من الفجر. The min al-fajr actually refers to the white thread, because the white thread is what indicates Fajr, whereas the aswad is min al-layl. So you'd think it'd be حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض من الفجر من الأسود خيط الأسود من الليل, from the night. But that's been omitted because that's understood that obviously if the white thread is referring to Fajr, then the black thread is referring to the night, and the night is what they were in. And so they're not waiting for the night. The night's already there. They're waiting for the white thread of Fajr to distinguish when they can stop eating. And so Allah has not mentioned the night because that's not what is the focus. The focus is min al-Fajr. And notice how min al-Fajr has been delayed to clarify, to have a greater impact on the mind of the listener, to say we're not talking about a white thread and a black thread, we're talking about the dawn. And so that creates a sense of curiosity and wanting to find out, like that's what he's talking about, min al-fajr, from the dawn. And so then it creates this keenness in order to actually go out and seek that. And so it's a very beautiful linguistical play there, and it means clear as well, as you said, the yatabayina. There's no doubt whatsoever, because in matters of religion there has to be surety. You can't pray dhahar if there's doubt. You've got to be sure that it's in. Okay, and likewise, if you got to be sure that Fajr's in before you stop eating.